Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 7, Text 128, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Is the echo on? Or it's either echo or too much bass. My voice is already bassy due to being a little strained. Hare Krishna. Maybe we're just used to high treble here in India. Yes, phones off please. So this is a very well-known verse among the followers of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, who very much emphasized this verse. Not a shloka exactly. Shloka particularly refers to Sanskrit, and even more particularly to Anustup verses, this most simple verses which most of the Bhagavad Gita verses are in that form. This 2 lines each of 14 syllables is a meter in Bengali in which most of Chaitanya Charitamrita is composed, and it's technically called Payar, although most Bengalis don't know that word either. So, anyway, Jare dekho tare kaha Krishna Upadesh. Amar Agyai Guru Hoya Taro Edesh. Yeah, that's actually pronounced Guru Hoya. Somehow or other it's not exactly, Bengali's not as phonetic as Sanskrit, and so when you find this N with the tilde or the curly line over it, and preceding it and following it are vowels, then it's pronounced as ya. So it becomes Hoya. Translation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving this instruction. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. This is a classic example of Srila Prabhupada building commentary into the translation, because clearly there's no mention of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam in the original verse. So the purport per se is as follows. This is the sublime mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Many people come and inquire whether they have to give up family life to join the society, but that is not our mission. One can remain comfortably in his residence. We simply request everyone to chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one is a little literate and can read Bhagavad Gita as it is and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is so much the better. These works are now available in an English translation and are done very authoritatively to appeal to all classes of men. Instead of living engrossed in material activities, people throughout the world should take advantage of this movement and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra at home with their families. One should also refrain from sinful activities, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling and intoxication. Out of these 4 items, illicit sex is very sinful. Every person must get married. Every woman especially must get married. If the women outnumber the men, some men can accept more than one wife. In that way there will be no prostitution in society. If men can marry more than one wife, illicit sex life will be stopped. One can also produce many nice preparations to offer Krishna. Grain, fruit, flowers and milk. Why should one indulge in unnecessary meat eating and maintain horrible slaughterhouses? What is the use of smoking and drinking tea and coffee? People are already intoxicated by material enjoyment, and if they indulge in further intoxication, what chance is there for self-realization? Similarly, one should not partake in gambling and unnecessarily agitate the mind. The real purpose of human life is to attain the spiritual platform and return to Godhead. That is the summum bonum of spiritual realization. Summum bonum. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to elevate human society to the perfection of life by pursuing the method described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his advice to the Brahmana Kurma. That is, one should stay at home, chant the Hare Krishna mantra and preach the instructions of Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, so this is a very well-known verse, as I said, especially among the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our own Srila Prabhupada, who often quoted this verse and put much stress on the practical application of it, that Krishna consciousness should be preached. There are 2 main points which Srila Prabhupada stressed in explaining this verse. One is that one should preaching of Krishna consciousness is required. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted this. And another point is that everyone should become a guru by preaching. Srila Prabhupada often said that it's not very difficult to become a guru. You just repeat what Krishna has stated, especially in Bhagavad Gita. This verse is also apt to the point which one of the points I made last night in the lecture, the proposal that we should just preach, there's no need for sadhana or reading, just get people to chant somehow or other. But here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically says that one should speak to others Krishna Upadesh, the instructions of Krishna. Elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna Upadesh it also means the instructions about Krishna. There is Krishnasya Upadesh, that means the instructions that Krishna personally gives, the instructions of Krishna, which are given in Bhagavad Gita, and also we find many instructions given by Krishna himself and in his various forms, such as Lord Kapiladev in Srimad Bhagavatam. And there is also Krishna Vishayak Upadesh, or instruction in relationship to Krishna. So we get a lot of that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There are many instructions about how to practice devotional service. And of course, that's also there in Bhagavad Gita. Patrang pushpang palang toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadahang bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Krishna says, if one offers me with the leaf, flower, fruit or water, if one offers these things to me with devotion, I will accept it. This is a statement. It's not so much an order. There are many orders that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. For instance, famously, Sarvadhaman parityaja mam ekam sharanang raja. Surrender to me only. Take shelter in me exclusively, giving up all other kinds of religion. And then Krishna says, Ahang tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. The second part of this verse is not an order, but it's explaining what result one will get from following this instruction. So similarly, patrang pushpang palantoyam. It's not an order. It's a statement. So there are different ways of trying to convince people. You can just order them. Actually, everyone should be ready to accept the order of Krishna. Arjuna wasn't. But when he made his own statement. Nayodsya, he said, I'm not going to fight. But later when he heard Krishna, he said, Sarvam etadritang manye yang mang varasi keshava. I accept as true everything that you have told me. That statement comes near the beginning of the 10th chapter. But even though he theoretically accepts it as true, it's not until the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that Krishna asks Arjuna that, are you ready to do what I say? Are you ready to follow my order? And Arjuna says, Nashto moha smritya labdha tvat prasadan maya chuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanantava. He said that, now my illusion is dispelled by your grace, O Achyuta. Yeah, are you looking for a place to come? Girls? No, you don't want to come in. Just counting the number. What are you going to do? Are you going to cook idlis for everyone? Is it? For cooking, yeah. Good guess on my part, although it might not be idlis. Maybe you're hoping it is idlis now. I say, you must come to class, and if you come to class, you'll get idlis for breakfast. That's order with an inducement also. So, nashto moha. Yes, if you sit in the passageway, then when others come, you'll have to move. So better you move now. You move from one part of the passageway to another part of the passageway. So, yeah. Okay. So Arjuna said, I'm ready to follow your instructions, but why am I ready to follow your instructions? Because my illusion is dispelled. I know now what I should do, and therefore I'm willing to do what I should do, which is to follow your instructions. And then Krishna instructed him. Okay, this is the instruction. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vaishasi satyante pratijane priyoseme. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, surrender unto me. That is the instruction. And then again in the second part of the verse, he says, well, if you do this, this is the benefit that you will get. So it's instruction and also giving some inducement, not a material inducement, but an inducement, how you will be benefited by doing so. Put on your seatbelt. Otherwise, you're more likely to be severely injured in an accident. I had this experience just a few days ago. I was in a car accident, and if I had not had my seatbelt on, which I always do, and I insist on the driver also doing, if we had not put the seatbelts, we would have both very likely been seriously injured, because it was a frontal collision. But as it happened, we weren't injured at all. So, put your seatbelt. and then there's inducement. Or maybe stated in a negative way, fine 2,000 rupees for not doing so. Or pay the police 200 rupees. Anyway, you have to pay something. One way or the other. Or, more seriously, you might get your head smashed up. So, but in this Patrang Pushpang verse, there's no order. You must do this. There's just stated that if you do this, I will accept it. So there are different ways. Guru, there are different. Krishna's instructions. Krishna is the original Guru. Krishnang Vande Jagat Gurum. Krishna is the Guru of the whole world. So there are different ways of instructing. If we say that, well, if you perform devotional service, please come inside. You could sit. Maybe you could make a place for it. No, you come out and let Mataji sit here. Yes, please come and you could sit just there. That would be more comfortable for you. Do we have any mats for any mat for the ladies to sit on? Anyone like to give up their mat for our mothers? Yeah, there we go. There's something. All right. Yeah, okay. There are different ways of instructing. Now, if we instruct in such that you do this, if we surrender to Krishna, we'll become very happy. It's the best way it's the best thing that we can do for us, not only for ourselves, but for others. And maybe the other side also, if we don't surrender to Krishna, then mrityu, samsara, vartmani, we fall back into material existence. So in this way, by giving this kind of instruction, what is the effect of surrendering to Krishna and the effect of not surrendering to Krishna? If the person themselves comes to the decision, yes, I want to surrender to Krishna, that will be more effective than if someone says, yes, okay, Krishna said, I'll do it, without any understanding or commitment. Actually, that itself is a great understanding. Krishna said, therefore I should do it. But if one is fully convinced that this is for my ultimate good, then automatically, without even being told, you must do this, then they will do it. So there's even Arjuna, as I said, he wasn't willing originally to follow, he wasn't ready to follow Krishna's order. But he became convinced by his intelligence that this is the best thing to do. So how to impart Krishna Upadesh? There are various, for one thing, Krishna's instructions, they are stated in different ways. There is a verse which comes in, it's quoted in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I don't remember exactly even the English purport, but it's something like this, that the Shrutis, they tend to speak like a father, giving orders. And the Smritis, they tend to, actually the Smritis, they also, they mostly just give orders. But there are different ways of instructing, like a father, like a mother, like a friend, like a lover. So different parts of Shastra, they do in different ways. So we see Srila Prabhupada, he would deal with different people in different ways, in different circumstances. He would try to convince people that it is in your best interest to surrender to Krishna. So we have to see. Any chance of that printout coming before the end of the class? It would be helpful. Coming, just now coming. Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada often said that it's not difficult to be a guru, you just repeat what Krishna has said. But clearly there are levels of gurus. Srila Prabhupada was very expert by the grace of Krishna, by the grace of his guru, in presenting the teachings of Krishna in such a way that others were induced to take it up. They wanted to do it. As Srila Prabhupada often said when he was in India, he would point out his Western disciples and say that I have not bribed these young American boys and girls to follow me, nor do I have any money to do so. I am a poor Indian. But they are just doing, yes, please don't sit in the passageway, please come inside. They are doing so voluntarily. But why are they doing so voluntarily? There may be so many elderly Indian gentlemen who went to the West. It's not that everyone attracts people around him to serve them. And particularly, well, there were a few. One elderly Indian guru who became at that time more famous than Srila Prabhupada in the West was this Yogi Mahesh, who they called Maharishi, they called him. Actually, the pronunciation is Maharshi, but they pronounce it Maharishi. He became more famous. But he didn't have any rules to follow. And he didn't insist on anything. That the only condition to become his follower was to pay him. At the time it was $35 to get some mantra which he gave, and there was some instruction in what he called transcendental meditation. But there was nothing to follow. You may say follower, but there's nothing really to follow. Please come inside. Ladies are sitting here. We have some service. All right. Yeah, all right. Srila Prabhupada had very strict conditions, and he himself later said that I didn't think that Westerners would take it up. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. It seemed very unlikely that any Westerner, even one, would take it up, but actually many did, because they found in Srila Prabhupada's teachings there was something which they couldn't get in America from the ordinary American way of life. We might think that in America, I only need one sheet. One is enough. One printout is enough. So we might think that, well, in America everything is there, but Krishna consciousness wasn't there. Then all the needs of the body are fulfilled. There's enough food, clothing, shelter. There's enough arrangement for that. There's arrangement for education, for the mind, to make you into some moron so that you just become another American fool, robot, doing what the powers that be want you to be. But anyway, it's some kind of food for the mind. There's educational facility. But there's nothing for the soul. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhya parang manaha manasastu para buddhe yo buddhes paratastusa. Yo buddhe paratastusa. So there is the sensual platform, the mental platform, the intellectual platform, and the spiritual platform. And in presenting Krishna Upadesh, Srila Prabhupada, seeing the people coming to him were mostly on the sensual platform, he provided sensual attraction also, because actually Krishna is most appealing to the senses. People want sense gratification. The best sense gratification is in Krishna consciousness. That's a fact. Because there's no one more beautiful, nothing more beautiful than Krishna. Nothing more tasteful than Krishna Prasada. Nothing more pleasing to hear than the name of Krishna. Of course, people in mundane consciousness, they generally don't appreciate that, but by the association of Srila Prabhupada, some people already, they started to appreciate. Most people, and even now in our preaching we find most people are on the sensual platform. That's why we find in our Sunday feast programs in ISKCON all over the world that usually there's a lecture before the prasadam, and amazingly a large number of people just arrive just at the end of the lecture. And if you ask them, they say, well, sorry, I'm late and all this kind of thing, and I meant to come earlier, but the car broke down, and they all have good reason, but somehow they managed to get there just in time for prasadam. So most people are, up to the present day, just their interest in Krishna consciousness goes that far only. But it is a beginning. It is a beginning of sorts. Then mental and intellectual, often we find it difficult to understand the difference between this, but we can say the mental platform is in this regard, there's the emotional platform. So Srila Prabhupada, by his very personality, was a very pleasing person to be with, and devotees are very pleasing persons to be with if they're actually devotees. Intellectual platform, Srila Prabhupada gave knowledge of Krishna. It's most satisfying philosophy for people who are interested in philosophy, as human beings are meant to be. And of course on the spiritual platform there's no comparison. The Krishna consciousness is the highest spiritual understanding, and most people, they don't even begin to come to any spiritual understanding because they misunderstand spiritual to mean emotional. They think if I feel good, that's spiritual. So, clear differentiation between spirit and matter. That's the first thing that Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita, and it's the first thing that that Srila Prabhupada taught repeatedly. So in this way, everyone can become a guru and should become a guru by following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who has set the exemplary standard of being a guru. What does it mean to be a guru? Well, Srila Prabhupada said it's very simple. You just repeat what Krishna said. But actually that's the essence of it, but there are many points to be considered. One should be a faithful follower of one's own guru. That's one. Then one should actually practice Krishna consciousness, not just talk. One should be free from material desire or cultivating freedom from material desires. There are so many points. One should not be interested in name, fame, position, power, in making disciples to engage them in one's own sense gratification, or to advertise, I've got more disciples than you, I'm better than you, and so on. One should become a guru by instructing others simply for the uplift of others. Now, recently someone who was initiated in ISKCON came up with the contention that by his study of Shastra, he has understood that only Indians can be gurus. And actually that would have been thought to be correct up until a short time ago, because even the word guru was only known in Indian languages. Of course, it might be in other languages to mean something else. But guru meaning as Srila Prabhupada translated it, spiritual master. That word comes in Sanskrit and languages closely derived from Sanskrit. The word guru wasn't there in English previously. Now it's there. So previously it would have been thought unthinkable that someone from outside of India, or for that matter, someone from, if we go back a little even more in time, anyone from a non-Brahmin position, born Brahmin, could be a guru. And that started to change even within India. Well, actually that's going on for a long time, but that was the tantrics, for instance. They generally don't, they do everything opposite to the Vedic culture. It's like a perverse reflection of the Vedic culture. So they'll have gurus who are non-Brahmins. And there are many movements which came up in Bengal, Karta Bhajas, for instance, who are not from Brahmin caste. So this verse which we read to introduce this talk, Jare deko tare kaha Krishna upadesh amaragya guru hoya tara edesh. This is often quoted in relationship to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire for preaching and gurus. And shortly after this in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita will come another definitive verse regarding gurus, which is Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kene Noije Krishna Tattvaveta Shei Guru Hoy. That it doesn't matter whether one is a Brahmana, whether one is a Shudra, whether one is a sannyasi, if one knows the science of Krishna, Shei Guru Hoy, which means Shei Guru Hoy, that's different to the word Hoya, which comes in this verse which we read today. It means they can be, or they are, or why not? Can become. So the qualification is to know the science of Krishna, which is maybe one reason why in Bengal especially so many movements came up in which there were non-Brahmins by birth who were gurus. Now, of course, there are different kinds of gurus, which from Srila Prabhupada's books, he's mentioned particularly three principal kinds in relation to the matter of transmitting the science of Krishna. One is the Vardma Pradarshak Guru, one who sets you on the path. They show you the path. An example of this is Suniti, the mother of Dhruv Maharaj, who advised him to worship Vishnu. Later he received more elaborate instructions in this regard from Narada Muni. So there's Vadma Pradarshak Guru, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. These are and there are many others. Mantra Guru is also mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is synonymous with Diksha Guru. So there are these various kinds of gurus. They all give instruction. These three kinds of gurus, they're recognized as gurus because they all give instruction. Maybe at different levels. Shiksha Guru actually is one who gives, Diksha Guru may only give the mantra. And some instruction about the mantra, but one who one regularly receives instruction from may be considered the Shiksha Guru. So it's a very big topic. The topic of Guru Tattva. Very big topic. But particularly this point, can only Indians be gurus? Well, until recently there wasn't any question about this because there were only Indians who were practicing Krishna consciousness. So there were Westerners in India, but mostly the one sign of a pious Hindu was that they didn't have anything to do with Westerners. And gradually some of the Brahmins, especially here in South India, became enrolled in the service of they took jobs as administrators for the Europeans, not just the British. Of course, here You had the French presence here also in the south. And so many, Dutch, Portuguese, and so on. Those are the principal ones who came. So, but it wasn't thought that a Westerner could become a sadhu, or a guru, or a brahmana. And even when I first came to stay in India, which was in 1977, I was often told that people would come up to me, seeing me dressed in a dress similar to the one I'm wearing today, and say that you cannot be a Hindu. Which I never had any intention to be a Hindu, but they thought I did, because only Hindus are sadhus and dress like that. So, you say, you can only be a born Hindu. So maybe in your next life you can be Hindu. So they were upset. That why are you dressed like this? You're not allowed. Of course there's no law against it, but that was the custom. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Priti vite ache jato nagar adi gram sabatra pracha hoibe moranam. This Krishna consciousness will be preached all over the world. So does that mean that we have to arrange jumbo jets of Indians to come and initiate the people all over the world? They have to come out to America and Fiji and all these places and initiate people and come back on their planes and just come out and initiate? Or what does it mean? If only Indians can be initiating gurus, then how is Krishna consciousness to spread all over the world? Or maybe there's some imagination that, well, you can chant Hare Krishna, but you don't get initiated. I don't know what are the depths of this shallow argument that only Indians can be gurus. But clearly, if Krishna consciousness is to spread all over the world, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meant that Krishna consciousness, as he taught it to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami for the benefit of all future generations, that Krishna consciousness would spread all over the world. And of course, Rupa Goswami's instructions regarding devotional service in practice, sadhana bhakti, they begin with Atagurvashrayam Krishna Diksha Anushiksanam Vishrambhena Guru Seva. The first four instructions, even before chanting the holy names, worshipping the deities and so on, the first four instructions regard Guru. The first instruction is that one should take shelter of a Guru. The second is that one should take initiation from him. The third is that one should take instruction from him. And that fourth is that one should serve him with much affection. So it is expected that Indians will do this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Bharata bhumite hoilo manusha janmaja janma shata kari karo para upaka. That persons who are born in Bharata, in human birth, they should perfect their life and perform welfare activities for others. So Bharata, in a broad sense, means this whole planet. Doesn't mean only India. And in a more restrictive sense, or in the sense that it is now commonly understood, it means India. But then India, what does India mean? We think that India means the land bordered by Gujarat state and Rajasthan state and Haryana and Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir in the west. But actually, previously, Bharat, that Sindh is very much part of Puranic Bharat. We have the 9 major rivers, of which the Sindhu flows through Pakistan. The Pakistan is an invention, a recent invention. That was all Bharata. So even when we say India now, what does that mean? It's become truncated, cut down. But still, it's expected that people who take birth in this land, they have more inclination to Krishna consciousness, and we practically see that when we preach Krishna consciousness in India, people, more people take to it than in other countries. Now there may be various reasons for that, but clearly one major reason is that people in India, they have some piety from previous lives, and they have culturally they feel more comfortable with Krishna consciousness than people in other countries. Although we find increasingly people in India, they don't like to wear dhotis, they don't like to wear tilak in public. Here in South India, in Tamil Nadu, it's still quite common. Just like this young man has come here, looks like he went to a temple this morning of Shiva and Murugan and put some vibhuti, or maybe in your home. So it's quite common, even up to the present time, that people here in Tamil Nadu, put some vibhuti on the forehead, and some Sri Vaishnavas, they also wear this Pundram, the Vaishnav, Urdhva Pundram, the Vaishnava tilak of their sampradaya. In Gujarat, it's the followers of the Swami Narayan sampradaya, they generally put their red tilak on. And it's quite common in different parts of India that men will put some red bindi on their forehead, some kind of tilak. But still many are shy to wear it. But in the Western countries, it's considered something very odd. Although in the Western countries there are also, many people don't mind to be odd also. In fact, there are so many people trying to be odd in different ways that it used to be when I walked in the streets of London in the 1970s, London, England, that people would look at us and think we are strange, but nowadays it's not considered strange because there are all kinds of different people who have deliberately trying to dress in the most strange ways possible, especially in the 1980s that came up. People going with their hair dyed green, purple, blue, and orange, and all in different, and so many things. So, but still, anyway, the point I'm making is that people in India, they feel, they take to Krishna consciousness more naturally for cultural reasons, which means psychological reasons, and also because of some piety is there, some inclination to Krishna consciousness, and they, anyway, that's a big discussion, but generally in India, people are more inclined to Krishna consciousness. The number of Srila Prabhupada's books distributed in India for the last few years has been more than that of the rest of the world put together. And some devotees in the West seem to think that, well, it's just very easy to distribute books in India. Well, maybe it is in relationship to the West. But I don't think that's even true. It's because the preaching has gone on here steadily for so many years, and the movement didn't suffer any major setback as it has in other parts of the world. So that's one reason. We have many devotees to distribute, many people to distribute to, and but it's not that you just walk up to people and say, please take a book, and everyone says yes, yes. Is it like that? No. So you're laughing because you know it's not easy. Most people, their initial response is negative, not positive. Or they may show some interest, but then they think, well, the book looks interesting, but the money in my pocket, there are other things I'd rather spend it on. One thing you can get, by the way, this is nothing to do with it, this is a practical suggestion. I don't know if they have them here in India yet, but this, some kind of device, book distributors in the West use that, you can swipe people's credit card and get payment this way. Because it's very common in the West for the last few years that people say, I'd like to take the book, but I don't have any money. And they don't have any money because everything they pay for by credit card. So there are devices that you can carry around, and you just swipe the card and they sign it, and then You can sell books like that also. So that's something you could maybe look into. Have you seen such things? Are they available in India? You do in the bookstall, yeah. But individuals can carry it with them also. Anyway, you can think about it. Door to door, usually people have some money in the home. And office to not in the offices necessarily. Less likely in the offices. That people just have a little something here and there for buying some charts at midday or something. Chart, you don't know the word. It's Hindi word, means snacks.
In some of the in IT companies, it's bookstall.
Right. Anyway, that's a little bit off the topic. So, India is a very pious land, and it might be expected that Indians would be gurus, but there's no reason why others can't also, and if they know the science of Krishna. There are some quotes from Srila Prabhupada in which this point is addressed. Couple of quotes. Of course, he spoke on this topic many, many times. Once in Mayapur. It must have been 1974. Was it? He was speaking on the appearance day of Advaita Acharya. And he had defined what does it mean to be an Acharya. Advaitam Harana Advaitad Acharyam Bhakti Sankshanat. Bhakti Sankshanat means he broadcasts bhakti. So this is the meaning of an Acharya. And Srila Prabhupada, in the course of that lecture, which is one of the most amazing of all of Srila Prabhupada's amazing lectures, I've heard that several times now, in the course of the last so many years. Short lecture, because Srila Prabhupada becomes stunned in ecstasy at the end. That ends the lecture. So Srila Prabhupada said that, in the course of that lecture, he said, so now, he quoted Jare Dekho Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. You preach to others, in this way you be a guru and deliver the land. And he said that, so now we are 5,000, meaning the number of his disciples. And we shall increase 10,000 and more and more. And there will be thousands of devotees, there will be thousands of acharyas, there will be no shortage of acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that. He was speaking mostly to most of his disciples were Westerners, because at that time Indians, very few Indians were coming. Now it's changed. It's more Indians are coming and not many Westerners. So clearly Srila Prabhupada wanted all his... If we take what Srila Prabhupada says, if we take that as evidence, if we accept that Prabhupada is a guru, and if we don't, then we're fool number one. So, here's a quote from Srila Prabhupada speaking in Los Angeles in 1976. Srila Prabhupada said, so how shall I find a real guru? Often people, how can I find a real guru? You may think it's very difficult to find a real guru. One of my godbrothers told me, he had been present when Srila Prabhupada had a conversation with someone here in India speaking in Hindi. I don't think this is recorded. So one man or woman said to Srila Prabhupada that it says it's very difficult to find a real guru, Sadguru. And Prabhupada said, it's not difficult. I'm a guru. You can follow me. I can give you proper instruction. That's a fact. Why is it difficult? When you're standing in front of the greatest guru who ever appeared since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you say it's difficult to find a guru. Kimascharya mataf param. What is more amazing or, in this case, foolish than this? So how shall I find a real guru? Srila Prabhupada said. That is very easy. Prabhupada said, that is very easy. How it is. How is it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us direction. He says, you become a guru. You can't find a guru, you become a guru. Then it's what the self-realization. in the Hindi book that's called the Atma Khoj, or sort of searching. What is that? There's another book, Searching. Search? Yeah, there's one book. It's like Science of Self-Realization, but it's got a different title. So they call Journey of Self-Discovery. Atma Khoj is the Hindi, linking a Sanskrit word with an Urdu word. So Khoj means to seek out. So you become a guru. He asked everyone, not only the Indians. Repeat, not only the Indians, but everyone. Especially he has advised the Indians to become perfect and distribute the knowledge throughout the whole world. Because actually knowledge is there revealed. So this is the special advantage of being in India, because the knowledge has traditionally been revealed in this land. In the Shastra we find that in all the universe, India is the best place for spiritual knowledge. Krishna personally comes. So many great devotees come. There are facilities here. At the rivers, you can bathe in the holy rivers and become purified. Srila Prabhupada said even the climate is very suitable. You don't have to work hard, just like if you live in England, for instance. Then you have to make so many arrangements for shelter because of the cold. Most of the year, you can't sleep outside. It's too cold. Even if it's somewhat warm in the day, at night it becomes quite cold. Whereas here in Tamil Nadu, you can sleep as long as you have some shelter from sometimes there's rain, not much. But throughout the year you can sleep outside. Sometimes you may need some cover. So and food, water, the land, the soil here in Tamil Nadu, most of the land is very fertile. There are plenty of rivers, of course. Now there's less rain than there used to be due to impiety, and most of the water gets stuck up in Karnataka due to dams. But basically it's this whole of South India. Well, actually, if we take the states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka especially, there's very fertile, and once we get into Andhra, Rayalaseema becomes very dry, but coastally Andhra is also enough rain and very good soil and big rivers. So Srila Prabhupada also said, you see, you don't have to make much endeavor for maintenance here in India, as in other countries. So your economic problem, how to live, that's easily solved. And even Srila Prabhupada also pointed out that they say India is a poor country, but so many sadhus are there. They're not working. They live. People give them food. That means can support a huge population. Of course, the sadhus, most sadhus, they don't take much. They take very little. But there's enough food for everyone. So, Srila Prabhupada said, that is a fact. Vedic knowledge. So one has to make his life perfect by receiving Vedic knowledge through the right source and distribute the knowledge. It is not very difficult. That means this is a summary of how to be a guru. Receive Vedic knowledge through the right source and distribute the knowledge. Simple proposition. Of course, life is more complex and we have to deal with all kinds of complex people and complex situations. But on principle, to receive the knowledge from the right source and to distribute it is a very straightforward thing to do. So, Srila Prabhupada continues, so that is the injunction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He asked especially the Indians, Bharata bhumite manusya janma hoiloja. Janma Sharthak Kari Karo Para Upaka. Anyone who has taken birth in India, Bharatavarsha, because he has got the facilities, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedanta Sutra, all these things are cultivated in India. So they have got the facilities, but at the present moment the people have become rascals. They have given up the Vedic knowledge. They are hankering after technic knowledge. That is India's main fault. Otherwise real knowledge is there, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, make your life perfect by understanding the Vedic knowledge and distribute it. So distribute. Interestingly, Srila Prabhupada spoke this in Los Angeles in 1976, where the vast majority of persons would be his disciples, or there may have been one or two others present who are not his disciples or aspiring disciples, and the vast majority of them would have been non-Indians. Maybe Sri Damodar Maharaj was there at that time. Quite possibly he was there, who was from India, from Manipur. But I don't think anyone else. It may have been one or two. Then I'm giving another quotation, and there are many, many, many of Srila Prabhupada in this regard. This is just 18 days later. Srila Prabhupada in Toronto, Canada, said, this Krishna consciousness movement is trying to enlighten people so that they can accept these principles of Bhagavad Gita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is para upaka. Para upaka. Upaka means beneficial activities. And para upaka para means for others. And it also means highest. Or other kind of welfare work. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is para upaka, and he advises everyone, especially Indian, to become guru. So yes, it's accepted that Indians, they have the culture, still something is going on. It is more noticeable when you go to the West and you come back, how India has more culture. What do you think? You just came back from the West, isn't it? So it is noticeable that India is more Krishna conscious, even not in a very, not nearly as much as it should be, but there's definitely, the culture is closer to that in so many ways. So everyone can become a guru, but especially Indians are expected to. Now you shouldn't think, well, I'm an Indian, therefore I'm qualified to be a guru. There's still the fact of Jai Krishna Tattvaveta. One should know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and one should be in a bona fide parampara, and there are so many other points to be considered, but you have a head start, we could say. He said, Amar Agyai Guru Hoya Taro Edish. Every one of you become a guru and try to deliver the persons where you are living. So how can I become a guru? Yes, it is very easy. What is that? Jare Deke Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Then you become guru. You simply repeat what Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, you become guru. To become guru is not, and then Srila Prabhupada changed the subject. But if you want to be a bluffer, cheater, then you can talk all nonsense. But if you actually talk only Krishna's words, then you become a guru. It is not very difficult. So it's also very easy to become a bluffer or a cheater. But one should become an actual guru by speaking what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Any question, please? Yes. Yeah, I mentioned sensual, mental, intellectual and spiritual levels. This is derived from Bhagavad Gita, the verse I mentioned, Indriyani, Prayani, Arhur, etc. preaching is bringing people up from all these levels. Yeah, it means bringing people to the spiritual level. Yes. That parallels also the Annamai, Pranamai, Jnanamai, Vijnanamai, and Anandamai, the Panchakosha, as mentioned in the, which Upanishad? Is it Brihadaranyaka or Chandogya? I always get mixed up between those two. Spiritual doesn't just mean feeling good. Now, spiritual means to act on the spiritual platform. If we act on the spiritual platform, then we'll feel good. But we can also feel good on the sensual platform. But people tend to think that if I feel good, well, that's spiritual. And helping others to feel good, that is spiritual. So opening hospitals in which people who feel bad, and then you give them some treatment and then they feel better, so people think that's spiritual. But that's not spiritual means to act on the spiritual platform. That means to understand that we are eternal spirit, we are eternal living beings. We have no intrinsic connection with this body or the mind, that we're eternal servants of Krishna. So if we are actually on the spiritual platform, we'll definitely feel good, but simply to make someone feel good, or ourselves to feel good, that's not necessarily spiritual. And in most cases when they talk about spiritual, they actually have no idea what is the proper meaning of this term. Yes?
While preaching to others, we are faced with question why Krishna and his incarnations have taken birth in India?
Why Krishna? Why Krishna? Why Krishna and his avatars take birth in India? Well, now Krishna is going beyond India, but there's that verse in Brahma Samhita gives some clue to this. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvashesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anantamashesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So within this verse is described that there are different planets within the universe, and they have vibhuti bhinnam, different characteristics or different qualities. So even within this planet, we see that different countries have different qualities. People generally like to go from India and many other countries to America because they think there I can earn money. It's a more favorable situation for earning money. And or people, they like to set up a company, for instance, some offshore place where they can get free from tax, or they set up a company in Singapore because it's more conducive. The business atmosphere is more conducive there. So, by the arrangement of Krishna, in different parts of the universe and different parts of the world, there are different qualities. So that people who in their previous life have come to a certain state of consciousness, they become suitable to be born in a certain situation. So people who have acted piously in previous lives, they tend to take birth in India. Not in all cases. Not that everyone is born in... Some people are very impious also. But because people in India are more ready to receive the Lord, therefore he appears in this land. Yes.
Actually, our movement is a preaching movement. So as it is a preaching movement.
Our movement is a preaching movement, that's true. It's also a practicing movement. We also have to practice Krishna consciousness.
Preaching, meantime they are getting trained.
We're preaching and we're getting trained at the same time, yes. We hope you're getting trained.
So in that, different devotees have a different approach in gaining other devotees. Some devotees, they are more strict and the way they approach is.
Some devotees have different approaches in guiding others. Some are more strict than others.
And some devotees, give some concession or
Some devotees give some concession to help them come up.
So some devotees are very strict. They don't give. They give less time, and they want to come up very fast.
They want others. Some want others to come up very fast. Well, that's better, isn't it? If people come up very fast.
So sometimes some devotees feel, that devotee is, little relaxed. So we give some. We want to.
Different approaches in preaching. If you want to get my comprehensive answer to this, please read my book, which is called On Speaking Strongly in Srila Prabhupada's Service, in which I discuss what you have called the more strict approach and the more relaxed approach. It's discussed in detail. In short, there's room for both approaches, but we should not compromise. And even if we bring people in at any level, we have to bring them up. The emphasis should not be just on bringing more and more people in, but we have to bring them up also. Please read that book, as you have expressed interest in this question. Hare Krishna, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Hare Krishna.